So I've seen the latest episode of... Yep, Black Mirror time again, folks, and I've now seen the episode Smithereens, and I saw it about, I don't know, what time am I recording this? About 8 hours ago, and I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about it. I don't mean that in a bad way. I know it's good. I'm just trying to figure out how much I personally like it. I think for myself, I probably put it in about the middle, which is actually not the condemnation it might be under other circumstances. Normally, when you call something middling, that's the equivalent of meh. But when the bar is as high as Black Mirror tends to set it, and I'll clarify that I actually only think there's one episode of Black Mirror that I don't think is actually good, and only one more after that I think is interesting but has some serious problems, and everything else, it's all good. It's just a question of how I personally prefer it. So when I say in the middle, that's not the condemnation it sounds like. But it is interesting, and this is one of those that is actually set in the modern day actually technically set in the past because it's dated 2018. I don't remember any other Black Mirror episode being dated specifically like that. So that was interesting. So this one falls into the category of things like, say, Shut Up and Dance or the National Anthem, in that nothing about the technology is more advanced than what we have today. Some of it is invented insofar as there are pieces of technology that exist that obviously have real world equivalents, but are named something else. So, like, there's a ride sharing app, but they don't call it Uber. There's some sort of social media thing that's called Persona. There's things like that. But like, it's all very clearly analogs for technology that exists. So this is a modern day story about one man and the state that he is currently in, and the degrees he decides to take things to try and... You know what? I can't even really say what it is he's doing without getting to what I would consider to be spoilers, so I just need to get into it. And maybe that's part of why I find this kind of middling. I'm having a hard time landing firmly on the point it's making. I have some ideas, and this isn't even me necessarily it's making its point badly, but just I'm having to sort through a lot. This is the kind of episode that when I either end up rewatching it or I think about it again in a few days, I'm either going to severely upgrade or severely downgrade my assessment depending on once I actually get things fully sorted. But this primarily deals with a character played by Andrew Scott. At this point, I think best known in most circles for playing Moriarty in the BBC Sherlock that had Benedict Cumberbatch in it. And he's really good for a part like this. I mean, part of what made him a good Moriarty is there's something about him that is inherently a little bit disconcerting. And even when I've seen him in stuff where he's playing a protagonistic character, he's still kind of disconcerting. So, what was it? Denial he was in, which is a decent movie. But, there's still something a little unsettling about him. And this plays very well into that. Plus, the man can rant. He's very good at ranting. So there is plenty of moments for him to get this. So basically, he kidnaps, what he believes to be an employee of a tech company called Smithereen. And he, holds him at gunpoint and finds out he's managed to bag just an intern, but he's got somebody. So he is trying to use that and threatening him with a gun to be able to talk on the phone with the guy who created Smithereen and is the owner of it. So it's like kidnapping somebody from Amazon and trying to talk to Jeff Bezos. I mean, that's basically what he's doing. So there's the degree to which this works. A lot of this centers on the performance. Andrew Scott is terrific. He's really good, and it's a powerful performance. And there's something that he does that I related to a lot, because that, like, my ability to relate to this character was it wasn't great, but there was something that he did like, oh crap, I do that. That is very me. And that was it was kind of cool to see, because I can't think off the top of my head of too many other times I've seen it depicted well, which is that when things don't go the way he intended or planned, he gets really aggravated. And like when he finds out he got an intern, just to sort of, and swearing and cursing and and then gets that, takes a breath. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. And like, I'm watching that going, crap, that's me. Because when something unexpected happens, I do kind of have a like, oh, you gotta be kidding. Okay, so here's how we're gonna deal with this now. And then the next thing that is supposed to repair the first thing that didn't work, that doesn't work, and the cycle repeats. So I did feel for him on that. That was really well captured. And the other performances are pretty good too. The guy who plays the intern is good. The various police characters who get involved are good. Topher Grace plays the tech CEO, and he's pretty good too. He also finds an interesting balance in terms of very much feeling like a rich tech kind of little bit of a douchebag, not like a raging douchebag, but he's a little bit of a douche, and but also like having moments where he's, the guy's trying. He is trying to be decent. He is trying to help. But at the same time, like, he's obviously got an ego that does start getting in the way. So, like, towards the tail end, when the two of them are actually on the phone and talking together, he actually does kind of connect a little bit with what, the guy who's holding somebody hostage is saying, but then he kind of twists it around and makes it about him. And it's like, dude, like, you were there and then you just kept going. And so again, pretty well captured, all things considered. I think the reason I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this is because ultimately, if it's very true to, I would say actually like first season, maybe first two seasons of Black Mirror, in that what solidifies the point of it kind of comes in over the end credits, which, like, I think honestly was the case with the previous episode, Striking Vipers. It was definitely the case with National Anthem. Those are the ones off the top of my head, but I know that there were others beside that. And I feel like that's trying to be the case here, but I don't know, just something about what gets revealed there doesn't feel overly telling, I guess. So how I interpreted this whole thing was the reason that this guy is doing all of this is just to know that he was heard. Because he was involved in an accident that he feels responsible for because he was looking at his phone at this app, at Smithereen, when he got into a crash that ultimately resulted in the death of his fiancée. And he hasn't told anyone that. So there's sort of this need to say it, but also like a need to know he's being heard and to be heard by somebody who matters, as opposed to just, throwing it up on his social media for, the standard condolences you get. So at the end, when, after he's been shot and we're just getting glimpses of people, like ordinary people, glancing at their phone, presumably at this app that's alerting them, just sort of looking at it and going, and then moving on with their lives. Seems to be leaning towards a point of, that this is fleeting. The world that we've built around this technology, nothing sticks. Nothing is lasting. But I guess I feel slightly at odds because nothing about what the guy was doing was trying to be noticed by the masses. At least it didn't feel like it was. So either I'm misinterpreting what sort of those closing moments are meant to be conveying, or I'm misinterpreting the character and why he's doing what he's doing. Because if I'm right about both, they don't fully click. They don't properly complement each other. One thing that did get me, and I actually kind of choked up, was with the mother that he actually hooks up with from the grief group, whose daughter committed suicide, and she's been trying to guess the password for her Persona account to try and get access to the inbox and have some indication, some clue as to why her daughter's dead. And she's the company won't give her the password, so she's been guessing. She only gets 3 times a day, and then it locks down for 24 hours. Then she has to try and guess again the next day. Who knows how long she's been at this? And I like that Andrew Scott's character has, I think as he realizes he's going to die, which honestly may have been his intent from the get-go, that because he's got this guy on the phone, this massive important tech CEO, he goes, "Hey, do you know the guy who owns Persona?" And we don't see the whole conversation, but he basically asks him for a favor for this woman. And not only do I like that, but I really like that she gets the password. And it just looks like a string of letters and numbers. It looks like the sort of thing like when you just invent randomness, to create the strongest password. But then as she enters it in and she looks at this picture, this framed picture that was in her daughter's dorm room of the two of them together, the password is a number from off the side of a boat in the background of this picture. And there was something really touching about that moment. Freaking thing. But there was something very sweet, and I got a little choked up at that. The sort of, because all the passwords she'd been guessing were things that connected the two of them, and none of them were working. Hey, now I'm gonna snap soon. I should have muted that, but it's just really sweet to realize, oh no, it was still a connection. And of course, we never see the results of that inbox. Just like there's a fair amount we don't see at the very end, but a lot that's implied. And I may have to rewatch this. And if I was smarter, I'd watch it again before I put this review up. But I've got too much other stuff to do, so probably not. But Smithereens, it was good, but I feel like either it's missing a little something. I think kind of akin to the Waldo moment, because I've said before that the Waldo moment is dealing in really interesting elements that don't fully complement each other, and I feel like it needed like another draft or something to fully coalesce. And either this is a case like that, or there's just something I missed. There's just something I'm not getting about what it's doing and what it's trying to say. And I'm totally open to that possibility, that I just didn't get something. But the central performance is phenomenal. It's emotional and it's engaging and it's really well done. And it's a good piece. I feel like I'm missing something. And the question is it there and I missed it? Or is it actually missing? I don't know. Smithereens! What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about a whole bunch of stuff to do because there's buttons and links and Patreon. You can support this channel, help make it better. And there's merch and there's my socials and blah, 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 blah. It's all down in the description. So give it a look. Click the links. They'll take you places, or don't. You don't have to. Because at the end of the day, you are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.